Well, it's not immediate. It's been happening over some years now, Blaine, but it is amazing to come back and see the Thomas and Mack Center, for the nation to see it like it was in the glory years. Sold out, loud, screaming. And the one thing that Dave Rose would love to accomplish, because he's done so much in a short time at BYU, just hasn't won a game here yet.
Oh, this has been such a difficult place to win for anybody. They get a lot of energy defensively, UNLV does, from this crowd.
There's the BYU lineup, and the amazing part, all 5 of those guys can score. 4 of them can shoot from the outside. It's not just Jimmer Fredette.
Oh, absolutely, and Tyler Hawes, one of the true big-time freshmen in the country this year.
And for Lon Kruger, now in his 6th year, won 130 games, taken UNLV to the tournament twice, the Sweet 16 in 07. A little disappointing finish last year when they didn't make the tournament for a 3rd straight year. They went to the NIT, and this year it's a real change in their lineup. A lot of guys that have transferred in from other places. And Trayvon Willis, the key in the middle. They're missing Derek Jasper, big guard.
And without Derek Jasper, Kendall Wallace is really going to have to pick his game up.
All right, Blaine, your keys today.
Well, let's talk about BYU. They've got to take care of the basketball and keep their turnovers down against this pressure D. And for UNLV, they got to defend transition. You usually think about that for teams playing UNLV, but BYU really gets out and scores in transition. BYU, Ted, had 19 offensive rebounds in the game in Provo. They've got to block out.
A very strong officiating crew assigned by the Mountain West Conference. 3 veterans, Tom O'Neill the lead, Scott Thornley, Vern Harris. These teams played a month ago in Provo. UNLV led the game with 5 minutes to play in Provo, but they didn't score a basket in those final 5 minutes, and BYU won it by 4. The rematch underway. If UNLV wins, they'll be no worse than tied for first in the Mountain West. And right away, an open right wing jumper, and that's Chase Standback. That's one of his strengths, a very good mid-range shooter.
And he shoots over 44%. We watched him in the shoot around, and he seemed like he was shooting the ball well earlier today.
A question to Lon Kruger, how is he going to defend Jimmer Fredette? He said, I'm going to use a lot of different guys on him. It's Fredette. That's something he does so well, Blaine.
He's just so creative. He gets in there, and you think, how's he going to get a shot off? He just figures out a way.
Oscar Belfield back with a quick shot for UNLV. It's pulled down by Jackson Emery, junior guard for BYU. BYU, as a team, is shooting 42% from the 3 line this year.
And Jimmer Fredette, 49.5%. As much as he shoots, that's a ridiculous number from out there.
What's interesting, it's Chase Standback, a long guy that's on Fredette at first, forcing Fredette to give it up. But Tyler Hawes, a freshman for BYU's second shot doesn't go. And then UNLV cannot corral the rebound.
And we talk about Fredette as a shooter, but he is so creative. He doesn't settle for jump shots. He likes to take the ball to the basket, and if you foul him, he goes to the free throw line. He's one of the top free throw shooters in the country.
He has an amazing ability, no matter what the defense is, to get to the basket. That ball was tipped by Standback of UNLV, so BYU will keep it. How good an offensive team is BYU this year?
Well, we look down in the conference, they're #1 in almost every important statistical category. And you look at on the national level, free throw percentage is great, scoring margin, 3-point percentage, you mentioned it. And this is just a very solid team in all aspects of the game. And when you talk to the coaching staffs as you get ready to do a game that are playing against BYU, they say they play better defense than anybody gives them credit for. Everyone knows about the shooting, but nobody gives them credit for how good they are defensively.
BYU, only conference loss at the pit against New Mexico as Emery's 3 misses. Ball saved, nope, not saved, out of bounds to UNLV.
Now, early on, we talked about a key, and that's defensive rebounding for UNLV. And we've seen early here already BYU with 1 offensive board, and that was almost another. They have got to block out. BYU's too good a shooting team to give second opportunities.
Only losses for BYU this year at Utah State, a very good team in the WAC, and at New Mexico. 3 is good, and that's a big one because that's not a strength for UNLV or for Trayvon Willis.
Trayvon's been shooting only 27% out there. If he starts to hit that shot, now he becomes even more difficult to defend.
Miles did a nice job sealing, but then the weak side help. Belfield takes the charge for UNLV.
When you watch Willis, this is not a lot of room. Jackson Emery, one of the premier perimeter defenders in the league, and Willis just elevates over the top, shoots with a hand in his face, and what a weapon he could be if he could consistently knock that down.
And that's really a key, Blaine. UNLV's a different offensive team than BYU. They're not a great shooting team. They're a scoring team.
Now, they know how to get to the rim, and they're a drive and dish type of a team. And Belfield, one of those guys that's able to get good penetration and set his teammates up.
There was a pick and roll, but Masamba couldn't get free. Ball swings, though, in that corner three. It's a big shot. The baseline three, and Stanback hits a good start for UNLV.
Stanback, another guy that's only been shooting 29% from out there, so this is a great start for the Rebels.
And the start means the crowd. And that's been something BYU's had trouble with here over recent years. Dealing with this atmosphere. They're going crazy already.
Well, and we talk about penetration. This time, Belfield with the penetration. He gets the defense to collapse. Then he kicks it out to Trayvon Willis. A quick touch pass over to the corner. And you get penetration and ball rotation, you're going to get open shots. And Stanback knocked that open one down from that left corner.
Stand-up jump by Willis. Doesn't get the roll. Stanback had it for a moment. Lost it when he was bumped. And that'll be a foul against Tyler Hawes of BYU.
First personal, second team foul.
Rims look soft here. Is that me or is that?
No, I've shot, shoot-arounds. We like to shoot a little bit. I think they are nice, soft rims. It's a shooter's gym. And
there's a good defensive rebound for BYU by the most impressive freshman, 6'5" Tyler Hawes. He's going all the way himself, but shot doesn't reach the rim. UNLV pushing. Willis spot up. 2 threes. Trayvon Willis. 3 for the Rebels. Quick timeout, BYU. Now UNLV only shoots 31% for the year from the 3 line. They've knocked 3 down early.
Well, and we watched them in shoot around, and they were shooting the ball well. And it doesn't always carry over to a game, but in this case, at the start of this one, it really has. And Trayvon Willis in transition, doing a terrific job. And you mentioned it, Ted. When UNLV gets a good start in this building and it's full, now it fuels their defense. And the last time BYU had the ball on the offensive end, UNLV denying the passing lanes all the way out to midcourt. They feed off of this crowd.
Wow, can you believe Coach Tarkanian is going to turn 80 years young this year? And the guy that many consider the greatest player in the wonderful history of this school, Larry Johnson.
It's a big game. And Tark comes to a lot of games. Larry Johnson, a few. He comes occasionally. When they're here together, it's a big-time game.
Well, UNLV already forced 2 turnovers. BYU only turns it 10 times a game on average. And Jimmer Fredette, the deep 3, just trying to get his team a point. But that's well within Fredette's range. Wallace, a shooter, put the ball down there. Tried to dish, deflected out of bounds, and that'll get us to our first official timeout. But exactly what the home team wanted. An 11-2 start. Non-West Basketball on Versus presented by KFC. Lon Kruger has done a terrific job melding together, as we referenced briefly, Blaine. For those who haven't seen UNLV this year, it's a lot of new faces, players who transferred from other programs, almost all of them players that Lon Kruger had originally recruited, thus the familiarity. And now as the season swings into February and a month to go, you can start to see UNLV coming together as a team.
Well, and they miss Derek Jasper right now, who's one of those recruits that have been a great rebounder and defender, but Chase Stanback, the transfer from UCLA, understands his role now, and what a start he's had in this ballgame, playing extremely well.
And Trayvon Willis, who originally out of Fresno, California, went to Memphis for a year. They're missing Jasper. It's a big guard, and it's put a little pressure on the others to rebound as Masamba works inside, denied, but regains possession. No reset. Nice drive, Stanback. Boy, Stanback didn't shoot it, put the ball down and blew by his defender. What a terrific offensive start. BYU has gone to their sixth man, Jonathan Tavernari, for some offense.
And watch, how far UNLV extends this defense now. They're all the way out to half court. And what they want to do is force BYU to start their offensive sets further out than they're used to. Then those shots don't come from their comfortable spots.
Burnett scored on the first possession for BYU. They haven't scored since. Set up there. Hawes missing. So BYU now closing in on 5 minutes without a point. And UNLV runs the floor, but Masamba can't finish. The big man about to get rewarded for running the floor. Strip. Willis picks it from Hawes. Willis in to the bump, and it's a block that'll put Trayvon Willis at the line. Jackson Emery on the foul for BYU. Blaine, the UNLV kind of rotate. They really rotate these three big men.
They do, and they kind of get equal minutes, and he'll go a little longer with a guy if he's playing extremely well in a game, and they bring different skill sets. Matt Shaw's the guy that can step out and shoot a little bit. The other two are bangers inside, and it doesn't have, and he didn't start the season. Lon didn't with a guy that he felt like was the man at that 5 spot. And so he's done it by committee, and they've been very effective as that three-headed monster.
So here come changes. Darius Santia, senior. Only senior who plays for UNLV. But Trayvon Willis, and Blaine in the open, you referenced unselfish. The last 2 games, here's the guy's the best player on this team. The last 2 games, he's taken a total of 15 shots. And I asked Lon Kruger yesterday, I said, is he okay with that? And Lon said, yeah, that's the kind of kid. He's fine. We win the game. He doesn't need the shots.
And he starts off this one with 8 points, but he doesn't take bad shots. That's what I like about this guy, is that he does not force things. Yet in conference, he's scoring 21 points a game.
So Willis now fouls, and that'll put Fredette at the line.
Well, you see Fredette, he is just not afraid to take it inside. And he's a guy that understands the game so well. He understands when it's the right time to attack and get to the free throw line, and he's an outstanding free throw shooter, one of the best in the country. 90.1% from the line on the season for Jimmer Fredette.
4 minutes, 59 seconds between points. Fredette scored on the first BYU possession, and now these free throws. Last 4 games, Jimmer Fredette is averaging 30.5 points a game. He has just been unconscious.
And don't be surprised to see him erupt. He's had some slow first halves and then exploded in second half of games.
Oh, nice one. Well, right now, BYU needs to find a way to slow down Willis. They brought in Charles Abuo, number 1. He's the guy Willis blew by there. And Willis with a defensive board.
All of BYU's shots seemed rushed right now. Ted, they're taking it and not squaring up and shooting like they normally do. And UNLV is taking her time and squaring up as Oscar Belfield knocks down the 3.
And Dave Rose has to take another timeout. UNLV has played a perfect 6 minutes and change to start this game.
Now, BYU's defense is designed to force the ball to the baseline, but the help has to get there. And so Abuo forced Trayvon Willis to the baseline, and Hartsock was slow. Then on the other end, you see Oscar Belfield, who pulls up for the easy 3. And this is a very confident shooting UNLV team right now.
And you get a sense that Trayvon Willis is saying, Jimmer, this. Yep. 10 points to start the game for Willis.
And you know that players do take it personal a little bit. And Trayvon knows the kind of publicity that a Jimmer Fredette gets. Yep. So he wants to show well today.
Absolutely. Well, more Mountain West College hoops next Saturday on Versus. The Running Rebels will be down in San Diego to play the San Diego State Aztecs, who are kind of a bubble team right now. They need some good wins to make their tournament case. You'll see it next Saturday at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, right here on Versus. San Diego State later today is at the Pit to play New Mexico, and that's what this next week is so big in the Mountain West. New Mexico hasn't played the tough road games yet. New Mexico still has to play here, and they still have to play in Provo. So right now, if BYU wins this game on the road today, they're really going to be in a great spot playing in the conference.
Yeah, if BYU can win this, it's a separation game for them. If UNLV can win, now all of a sudden it's all back up for grabs again. And San Diego State, if they want to climb back in this race, this game today in the pit is so important for them to climb back in the race.
Aztecs need a good win. They got one against Arizona in the non-conference. BYU has made just 1 of 8 shots to start this game. And this is a team that thrives on its shooting from many sources. Look at that UNLV defense playing, as you talked about. Look where they're guarding people.
And you have to make a team pay for pressure that far away from the basket. You've got to break them down. And when you break them down, you get into the paint, good things happen. And BYU's been content to toss it around the perimeter.
Ball screens.
They've got to start setting some.
Emery does a forced shot. There's exactly what you talked about, Blaine.
Yeah, every shot is uncomfortable right now, and that was as the shot clock went down.
And the exact opposite for UNLV, and that, ironically, is their three-point shooter, Kendall Wallace, and he's the one who misses. That's the first miss after 4 makes for the Rebels. Nice slash, and Abuo follows.
BYU either get some ball screens going, or Fredette and Emery have to take their guy off the dribble that far away from the basket.
And that's just what Abuo did. A good slash to the basket now. Aggressive play, and that's 2 personal fouls on a crucial man for BYU and Jackson Emery. Michael Lloyd in for BYU off the bench. Guards Justin Hawkins, freshman from Los Angeles. Justin Hawkins in the game. Steve Jones, a senior, in the game also for UNLV. Willis stays in with Santee and Belfield. Now switch, Noah Hartsock, a big man on Willis. He gives it up. Trying to go down. Tried to get Santee matched up against a smaller man. Instead, it's Jones off the baseline, and Steve Jones gets the roll.
And Steve Jones, he's at his average now. He's averaging 1.8, but he's a guy that they love the upside of. A real physical guy. We were talking about earlier how put together he is physically.
And then Santee fouls Noah Hartsock of BYU on the turnaround attempt.
Number 44, Darius Santee, his first personal, second team foul. Noah Hartsock will be at the line shooting 2 for the Cougars.
So Noah Hartsock, 6'8", sophomore from Bartlesville, Oklahoma. He had his career best game in Provo against UNLV, scored 17.
They asked the coaches to describe their players, and this is what they said about Noah Hartsock. BYU used to have long, and he does have those long arms, very efficient, not a lot of wasted effort, and he's smart with his shot selection, and an unsung hero. They think he's an integral part of what they do there, and he doesn't get a lot of publicity. Just quietly gets it done. And he had a big game. As UNLV spread BYU out in that first game, they were able to get penetration, and when rotations came, they got the ball to Hartsock, and he scored. Or when they missed shots, he was able to get some putbacks. And BYU has not attacked as well offensively as they need to stay in this ball game.
There's the high screen by UNLV to get Belfield some room. Switch now. They try to go down low. So they try to switch and go to the Santee against Jimmer Fredette at the post. An errant pass and a turnover. About the only thing that's gone wrong in this blistering start for UNLV. Mountain West basketball presented by KFC here on Versus. The Mountain West starting to get a little more attention as we move into February. It's college basketball time anyway. And a win today would certainly elevate that and start getting them some votes again. And Trayvon Willis, who has become their leader, the guy that leads us, has done it the first 8 minutes of this game.
Oh, and he started strong. He had that jump shot from three-point land. He came down and got a transition 3, and then you just saw his confidence soar. That's what he does most of the time, take the ball to the basket, but he's been terrific in the start of this thing. 17 points per game in the full season, but in conference play, he's been even better.
21-6 in the conference. UNLV has 8 baskets, 7 assists. Can BYU find a way to shake their offense free? Belfield, the point guard for UNLV, is now guarding Jimmer Fredette. They go down low to Hartsock. Got an aggressive play. It's tipped out of bounds and will stay with BYU. BYU now sitting Jackson Emery with 2 fouls. It'll be interesting to see how long Dave Rose does that.
Well, the thing that's difficult there is Jackson Emery is the guy that draws Trayvon Willis defensively, and he's the best defender BYU has on the perimeter.
And one of the good shooting alternatives. So it's not just Fredette. Up top, Michael Lloyd. He had a huge basket in the closing minutes of this matchup in Provo. And here we get a rebound foul on Abuo. That's 5 team fouls now on BYU, 2 on UNLV.
Michael Lloyd had a big game in Provo, played 16 minutes, and Jimmer Fredette wasn't healthy, coming back from mononucleosis, and he had a big role in that first matchup between these two teams. And he's from Vegas, so this is a big game for him.
Nice feed inside. Well, UNLV doing a good job. That was Hawkins feeding Santee inside. Good drive, and Lloyd sets up Abuo, who knocks down a 3. So the first 3 of the game for BYU from an unlikely source. There's Belfield setting up. Hawkins missing. Ball tipped out of bounds. It goes out off BYU.
For UNLV, they've been moving the basketball so well. You saw as the ball came around the perimeter, a great seal inside by Darius Santee. So as the ball comes around the horn, he's got his defender sealed off, and it's just as easy as can be in there when you do, when you play with great fundamentals, and UNLV has in this ball game.
Belfield. And there's the other part, Blaine. You knock down threes like UNLV has done early, and now suddenly that defense has to come out. You can pound it in.
And usually you want to play off UNLV and make them make those shots, but when they're making them, it's trouble.
Abuo in, Standback is there in possession. Offensive foul. And so Abuo trying to be aggressive, but he's picked up 2 fouls.
Boy, and you see Standback in position, very little contact that time as Abuo slid across and tried to avoid Standback, but he did a nice job of, boy, you feel anything, you go to your back, and so he was able to draw that charge and get it from the official on that one.
And with the new rule this year in college basketball, but again, I think fans need to remember as we move towards March, it's in college, the defender must be directly under the basket. Another 3. Willis hits his 3rd. 13 points, a 19-point UNLV lead. 30 points in the first 10 minutes. Fredette defended nicely, stepped under Willis, and Standback with a good clear.
BYU fortunate to get back. You can't have 3 guys go to the basketball on the opposite end, and they were fortunate to stop the ball in transition that time.
That's Shaw, and he can do that. I'm telling you, if they could bring Larry Johnson in off the sideline right now, he'd knock a 3 down.
Yeah, and this is one of those games when a team shooting like this. I don't care who UNLV is playing right now. When you shoot the ball like that, you win. They'd be beating Kansas in this building right now, shooting the ball the way they are, 7 of 9.
Unbelievable.
From the 3-point line.
Just goes to show you what all the setup really means in a game
Yeah.
plane. UNLV, the team that has not been a terrific outside shooting team, and they're just blistering in this first half, and BYU, shooters galore, 1 of 7 from the 3.
And a lot of that due to UNLV's defense. They've been there. Every shot has been contested, and they've made BYU very uncomfortable in their offense. And for UNLV, even when the shots have been contested, they're knocking them down.
So Fredette gets back to the line. There's 6 points now for Fredette, 4 from the foul line. Lamont Morgan in for BYU for Michael Lloyd.
Now for UNLV, it's important they don't fall in love with a 3-point shot now. They're on this great streak, but they need to run their offense and attack. Now they've got BYU's defense extended. They need to attack and not just stand out there and shoot jump shots. Unless they keep making them. That's unbelievable that they are shooting the way they are.
UNLV has been on a run from the beginning here. They've made 8 of 10 threes. They get a foul on Anthony Marshall, freshman guard from Las Vegas.
Now we talk about the the three-headed monster. Matt Shaw's the guy that comes in, and he's very capable out there. That's a guy, it's not surprising to see him knock it down. Yeah. He's shooting 44% from behind the arc, and how nice is that to have a 5 that can go out to the perimeter and knock down threes?
4 different men have knocked threes down already for UNLV. At some point, part of BYU's thinking, Blaine, I would guess, is they're going to miss. They're going to start to miss. The question is, can you stay in the game?
And that's the question. You do have to think, wait a minute, the percentages have to play out. Is UNLV going to shoot 80 or 90%? And Trayvon Willis out on Fredette. Guard him, get a good hand on the ball, and then he knocks it off the foot of Jimmer Fredette.
And that is what, when you're trailing like this, so you can't afford empty possessions. And it's 5 turnovers already for a BYU team, averaging 10 per game. Ron Kruger able to get deep into his bench here in his first half. Nice rebound, Hawkins. The 2 freshman guards on the floor. But Trayvon Willis in. What an unbelievable scoop. Everything there but the finish, and Miles rebounds BYU. Great pick. Hawkins saw that pass telegraphed.
And a smart play by Shaw to get it back outside.
Shaw misses, but the long rebound to Willis. Everything, BYU just looks scrambled, Blaine, on everything.
And even though you're down like that, you can't, if you start to be scrambled and playing with desperation and everything going down for UNLV, you get out of your offense and it compounds itself.
There's a good play by Anthony Marshall. He had Jackson Emery on him with 2 fouls, so he drove right at him. Emery backed off. So Dave Rose putting Emery back in the game with the 2 fouls. Giving Fredette his first rest of the half is Jonathan Tavernari, and that's a guy that would be big if he could start to find a streak. He's a guy that can score quickly.
And BYU has plenty of scorers that could come down, and so they can go off in a flurry in terms of points. They're never out of a basketball game in the first half, but if UNLV can even shoot marginally close to the way they have, and they continue to do it, I mean, UNLV right now could beat anybody in the country right now the way they're shooting it. The question is, can they sustain this throughout this whole game? But it is unbelievable how they're shooting right now.
I would wonder why Matt Shaw was left alone again. Where's the defender? Matt Shaw just hit a couple. You got to defend him, don't you?
You got to get out on Matt Shaw. And you got to know that it's difficult. It's a difficult guard for a 5 to think about getting that far away from the basket. You see Miles trying to close out on him, but Miles not used to defending all the way out at the 3-point line, and Shaw really feeling it. Who's not feeling it, Ted, on this UNLV team right now?
UNLV has made 9 of 13 threes to start this game. BYU has already taken 3 timeouts in the first 13 minutes plus. And going deep to his bench, Dave Rose, Logan Magnuson on the floor. He's only played 67 minutes all year.
He's going very small with his lineup right now. He's going to have Jonathan Tavernari playing the 5 spot, who can play the 2 if you want him to. So it's a very small team, and Dave Rose just looking for any kind of a group out there that will give him some chemistry and change this thing.
Nice driving dish back. So there's the kind of play that BYU is capable of, driving a setup for Tavernari. But here's where, to me, BYU's got to find a way to come up with some stops, Blaine.
No, absolutely. And it's so out of the game plan to think that you have to defend UNLV on the perimeter like that. And so they have not prepared to get out there and to play the 3-point line. And now everything is going as Trayvon Willis shows that the bank is open on Saturdays in Vegas.
15 first half. Willis, steal Hawkins. Ahead of the field, Hawkins. 9 different Rebels have scored. 4 different 3-point shooters. This is right now. I mean, this is a half of the dreams. Boy, the coaches all night dream about their team playing like this for UNLV. 45-18. in the midst of that UNLV huddle, their leading scorer, Trayvon Willis, has already put 15 points up in the first half, and he's the subject of our eHarmony player profile. From Fresno, California. He's won about the only weeks that Jimmer Fredette hasn't. He's been the Mountain West Player of the Week.
Yeah, Trayvon Willis is the guy that got this team started today. And you could just tell the energy that he was playing with carried over to the rest of his team. And UNLV's out hustling BYU in every play. They're getting to all the 50-50 balls. They're keeping the ball alive on rebounds. And they're playing with energy, and BYU looks like they are flat-footed and they're dumbfounded out there by the shooting of UNLV.
Well, assists are a subjective number, we admit that, but as Morgan missing a 3 for BYU, Trayvon Willis has 15 points, and he also has 5 assists already. And still, I don't believe Willis actually has been out just briefly off the floor in this first half. Fredette is still out of the game, so Jimmer Fredette is still sitting on the bench for BYU. And I think he's out now. Dave Rose just looked at him and said, all right, that's enough. Get back in.
Get back in there.
Of course, that was one thing that, Blaine, that we talked about prepping a lot, was that, UNLV really didn't see Jimmer Fredette in the game of Provo.
Yeah, that's right. He was coming back from mono. He played, decent minutes, but he didn't even play in the last 5 or 6 minutes of that game. He was so worn out, and Dave Rose just felt like, hey, this isn't happening. He's got to sit down. As we watch Trayvon Willis shoot free throws, what makes this so difficult for BYU, you don't go into a game with UNLV and say, boy, the one thing we've got to do is find all the shooters on the perimeter.
Right. And
we've got to mark those three-point guys, and you can't help. And there's Trayvon Willis. The adjectives that Lon Kruger and his staff gave to us, tough. We've seen that in this game. Leader, we've seen that. He's been very clutch all season for this team. He's the guy that UNLV wants to put with the basketball down the stretch in a tough ball game.
17 in the first half for Willis. And if you've just joined us from the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas, that score is right. Number 12 team in the country, BYU being hammered here in the first half as Emory gets to the basket for BYU and is fouled by UNLV's Bryce Masamba. A blistering shooting first half for the running Rebels. And coming up at the half, we'll take a look at Jimmer Fredette. Right now, the leading player in the Mountain West Conference. We'll also look back 20 years now, the anniversary of the national championship team here at UNLV. Jerry Tarkanian and Larry Johnson here. So Emory on the board, his first points, averages 12 a game. And hedging on the ball screen is the big man James Anderson on the floor for the first time for BYU today. Sophomore at 6'10", and Anderson is called for the foul. That'll put Belfield at the line at a 1-and-1.
Anderson going to get some additional minutes. Brandon Davies, who usually gets those minutes at the 5 spot, had an emergency appendectomy and is out for a couple of weeks. So we'll see the big guy on the floor a little bit more, big number 15 out there for BYU.
Is that amazing? Young man Davies had an emergency appendectomy Wednesday night, and he traveled here yesterday with his team.
We were talking to him yesterday. And I looked at him and I said, obviously they must have scoped this and not opened you up. And he goes, yeah, they scoped me. And he's here with the team.
Baseline make there by James Anderson. Stand back baseline. Hammered, knocked out. BYU went small. Now they go back to a big man.
And James Anderson, a very skilled offensive player down low. He's still a young guy in this program, 6'10" and 230-pound sophomore.
Samba trying inside. He got physicaled in there and fouled by Anderson. So 2 quick fouls on James Anderson. 2 on Charles Abuo, 2 on Jackson Emory. This first half for BYU.
Playing Masamba at 240. I'm not so sure he's not a little bit more than that. He's a force down there. If he catches it that deep in the paint, he'll get that backside on you and move you out of the way. That's a tough matchup for James Anderson.
He's not going to touch the ball in the last minutes of the game after that free throw. You can tell that. Tavernari hits a three. Tavernari now coming off the bench in his senior year. But he can be that bench igniter in this game for BYU. Belfield use that high ball screen. We'll talk more about that when we come back. Belfield will get to the line for UNLV as BYU will try to make this respectable in the final 3:45 of the half. Mountain West basketball presented by KFC here on Versus. More basketball tonight on Versus. It's the NBA D-League versus your home for D-League action. Tonight it's Reno and Rio Grande Valley. You'd be amazed, you watch a D-League game, how many familiar names you'll see. The guys you watched in college trying to make their dreams come true in the NBA D-League. You'll see it tonight, 11 Eastern on Versus.
Well, UNLV, 9 of 13. They missed the last couple of threes, but on a just tear from the three-point line, 69% in this first half, and BYU's just 3 of 10.
And wasn't turnovers another one of your keys, Blaine? How many does
Absolutely.
UNLV have?
1 turnover for UNLV and 7 for BYU. And I love the way UNLV has been sharing the basketball in this one. 13 assists, and this is a team that averages 16 a game, so they're almost to their number at halftime here.
So here is where the top 4 in the Mountain West, the 4 teams that have a chance to play in March Madness, stand in terms of their RPI. 4 in the top 50.
Well, and you wonder, New Mexico, why are they so high? Well, they've already had victories against 4 teams that were ranked at the time that they played them, and that plays into that. And you see that very lofty RPI for the Lobos. Man, are they good at home. And San Diego State's got a task. This place is crazy today, and that pit has been crazy all year.
But you know what, that graphic also shows you what's at stake here. UNLV missing some foul shots here. They've left points at the line. Belfield finally makes one. But just think about this next week for UNLV. BYU today, New Mexico here Wednesday, at San Diego State next Saturday. 3 high RPI teams.
Absolutely, that could really help them climb in there and be a more solid NCAA tournament team and get a higher seed.
Get a seed. As Jimmer Fredette took Wallace into the paint there. And Fredette will get to the line.
There's, you look at the mock seedings that come out every week by the so-called experts, and there's some of those mock tournament brackets that have BYU and New Mexico both as high as 4 seeds right now if the tournament were to start today.
Well, it's absolutely a year where the Mountain West can stand up and say 3 should be really no doubt. And if San Diego State can, San Diego State had a couple of losses that won't look well on their resume in March, but if they can win a couple of these games against the heavyweights, they're going to present a pretty strong resume. You can make a case for 4.
Yeah, and any one of those 4 are capable of winning the conference tournament and getting automatic there.
Which once again will be played right here on this court in the championship game right here on Versus, March 13. Both the women's and the men's championships of the Mountain West here on Versus. Just the second UNLV turnover. Hawes. A little bit out of control, but BYU now gets a chance to reset. Oscar Belfield draws the assignment here on Fredette. Fredette got the screen. Miles came way out. Fredette missing. Masamba clears UNLV. And the Rebels push. Good job there by Hawes to get out and make sure there was no 3 by Wallace. That's the kind of defense BYU now needs to play. And now the Cougars in transition, maybe the first transition hoop.
Yeah, and they are so dangerous in transition. Lon Kruger, when I asked him today, give me some keys. First thing he said was, we got to stop their transition. They're so good at getting out and running. And BYU now on a little bit of a comeback, 11-1 run.
11-1 is this Cougar run. For generations, announcers who talk about a game as Willis, let's see what they call her. Foul, but still put Willis at the line to shoot 2.
Fredette is just so good in the open court. We talk about him as a scorer, but he's an unselfish player. He knows when to give the ball up, and you see him find his wingman Jackson Emery running that left lane for the easy bucket.
Well, for years in blowout first halves, announcers always say, well, wow, what a coach really wants to do here, the trailing coach, you want to get it down under 10 by the half. Well, this was so out of whack. It was a 29-point lead that for BYU, I mean, that's out the window. What's a respectable?
All right now, I think Dave Rose is worried about is getting his team back under control and running their stuff before they go into halftime. So they can go in with something positive and then hope that they can shoot lights out in the second half of the game.
So 19 for Willis in the first half of UNLV. A 50-point Rebels first half. As you see what's coming up, our halftime right here from the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas. Well, the best, it appears, playing the best offensive play for BYU in this first half has been just that Fredette off the dribble.
And we watched the shoot around, and Steve Henson, great assistant for Lon Kruger, was telling him, you've got to squeeze this, and you've got to make sure you hedge real strong, or he'll just split you and go to the basket, and that's exactly what he did that time. And if you reach out, he's money from the free throw line. If you foul this guy, he's as good as there is.
7 in a row right now, 7 of 7. Now you see him all the time. How much, because he looks thinner to me, how much down is he from the mono that he had in Christmas?
I think he's lost 10 or 11 pounds, and you know, you can't put that back on in season. And that's something you put on in the off season. He had bulked up a little bit, looked real strong, and you lose it in season the way these guys have to run up and down the floor every night. You just can't put it back on.
Well, Matt Shaw showed his three-point prowess, and now, first time he operates from the block. A nice little jump hook. 11 for Shaw in the first half. Emery got a three. It got a good look. But again, the problem for BYU, I would offer, is more at this end. They've got to find a way to defend a little bit. Stop. There's a turnover. High dribble. Emery got away with it. And Fredette, his first three of the game.
And Matt Shaw looked back at his teammates and looked at Trayvon and said, that's my fault. And they talked about that. If you're a 5 and you end up on him, don't sit back. You got to go out and guard him. And if he gets by you, they'll help. But he'll knock that down all day long.
Yeah, because his range, you talked playing 25, 26 feet, no problem. Willis right in.
And you're right, Ted. You look at that play right there defensively. When they go in the locker room, Dave Rose is going to be a lot more concerned with his lack of defense than he is about their inability to score.
There certainly was the three-point shooting the first 10 minutes of the half, but the second 10 minutes has been more of that for UNLV. Fredette rimmed that one out from about 28, and Lon Kruger is going to take a timeout to set up a last possession. .54 first half points.
That's mind-boggling,
that
isn't it?
That goes back to the good old days.
Yeah, we were talking about that 90 team. That's what UNLV used to do.
Yeah.
It was nothing to score 100 in a game. We talk about the big guys, and they've had a big impact in this game. Matt Shaw's been particularly good in this one. His ability to stretch a defense and go out as a big guy and shoot threes has been important to this big start.
So those three have combined for 15 points in the first half, but this is again playing what I think BYU allowing that easy penetration.
Well, and Dave Rose told us their biggest thing coming to this game was to be able to stop the ball. But he didn't realize it was going to be to stop the three-point shot. So now all of a sudden, when they're knocking shots down like that, you go out and you defend way out on the perimeter, and that plays to UNLV's strength. Now they can put the ball on the floor, and your rotations have to be so much better in help defense than BYU has been in this first half.
Anthony Marshall in for the last position. Goes right by Fredette. What a blow by. And they put Anthony Marshall in to do just that. And what a fitting way to end the first half for UNLV. This was the last 10 minutes of the first half. With a lot of this by the UNLV.
And Jimmer Fredette looked over as if he wanted to talk to his teammate about what they were going to do and how they were going to play the ball screen. And when Marshall just said, well, forget that. While you're not looking, I'm gone.
And an incredible offensive half. 56 points for UNLV trying to make their mark. We'll come back, and our halftime will include a look at Jimmer Fredette. And we continue in the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas on Versus. Well, they've got some good basketball royalty in the house watching, and what a first half by UNLV. They came out, Blaine, in the first 3 minutes of the game. You could see these running Rebels were ready for the challenge.
Oh, the tone was set from the very beginning, and led by Trayvon Willis, who was just terrific in the first half with his shooting, knocking him down from distance. He got a couple of quick threes. He was driving to the basket and really led the charge right out of the locker room. And then everyone got involved. Oscar Belfield knocking down a three. Trayvon with another three. And the big guys even started getting involved in the act as Matt Shaw went from distance and knocked down a three from the outside.
All right, there are the first half stats brought to you by KFC, and you see this blistering shooting. UNLV had a couple of turnovers right at the end of the half to finish with just 4.
Well, UNLV winning every aspect of the game. They're out rebounding, they're sharing the ball better, they're forcing more turnovers, they're getting points off of those. But the real story is the shooting. It's been outstanding, 65% from the field and 69.2% from three-point range outside, and just a great first half.
Well, there's a proud son of Las Vegas. Soon-to-be Hall of Fame pitcher Greg Maddux lives here. In fact, donated a large amount of money to his high school here to rebuild their baseball field, Greg Maddux Field, and he's a regular. You tell me, Blaine, he's a regular here at the Rebels games.
I always look up to see if he's here, and he's here at most of the games. And then big ones and little ones. He's a great supporter of UNLV athletics and a good member of this Vegas community. There's the star of Las Vegas right now, though, and Trayvon Willis. And they got such a great start in this game. Now, do we expect them to shoot 65% again here in the second half? Probably not. But they got such a jump. This may be just too big of a hole for BYU to climb out of. If there is a team in this conference that is capable of coming back from this big a spread, it has to be a team that can really shoot the basketball and have multiple weapons, and that's BYU.
And the two players we highlighted, probably, I guess, would you say the 2 best players in the conference right now?
Now, certainly from an offensive standpoint. I love Darrington Hobson at New Mexico. He's another guy who's played well, but those two are certainly the best scorers in the league.
And you saw them each lead their team in the first half here. D-League tonight on Versus. Reno and Rio Grande Valley, the matchup at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific tonight here on Versus. So BYU, first possession, second half. Only player with foul trouble, James Anderson, a seldom used big man, at 3 in the first half for BYU. Miles doubled down by Willis of UNLV. And there's UNLV playing the passing lane, and Belfield slams it out of bounds off Jackson Emery of BYU. But that's what UNLV does so well in defense.
Yeah, they're great at getting hands in the passing lanes, and you have to have guys. Part of it's what Lon teaches them, but he also recruits kids that understand how to get to the basketball and with quick hands and anticipation.
That's what you wonder. Can BYU, do they have that kind of defensive pressure that they can turn on to ramp it up a bit to try to narrow this deficit? Not really their game, is it?
No, but I talked earlier, what UNLV can't afford to do is to now say, hey, we just shot 70% from the three-point line in the first half. Let's just jack up a bunch of threes. They need to take their time offensively and do what they do best, attack. And if threes come in that attack mode, great. So I think UNLV will have to let BYU back in this game.
All right, with a little trouble getting the ball in bounds, so we get a timeout here in the first minute of the second half with UNLV up 22. Mountain West basketball presented by KFC. Unfamiliar spot for Dave Rose. Only the 3rd time all year BYU has trailed at the half. And if BYU is to come back, they'll need more from Jimmer Fredette. He did most of his damage at the foul line.
No, and he does that. He understands how to score, so if he can't get his shot off the way he'd like, that's not a lot of attempts for Jimmer Fredette, and that's because he was at the free throw line. And we talked about the keys to start off, ball security, and keep the turnovers under 10. Well, they kept it under 10 for the first half. They want to keep it under 10 for the whole game, and they struggled to take care of the ball. I'd say UNLV gets two plus marks,
yes,
and BYU gets 2 minuses in that first half.
Just beating the clock. Willis missing, but a long rebound and a new shot clock for UNLV.
And how many times did we see in that first half when UNLV did miss a 3? It was a long miss, and they were able to rebound the basketball.
One thing that jumped out at us talking to the coaches was that mention you referenced, as there's a steal, nice steal. Hawes set up down the lane, missed. Hartsock follows.
And that was a great on-the-ball play by Jackson Emery, and that's where he is so good. He's a great perimeter defender and just anticipated that. And a lot of guys get steals off the ball. Not too many guys that are great at stealing on the ball. And Trayvon Willis and Jackson Emery are 2 in this league that are very good at it.
And Emery now with that steal just 2 away from the BYU record single season. Stand back with a miss. Good high rebound for Fredette. Timed that very well. Dish back Emery. Well, here's what BYU we've been waiting for. Something to give them a little jolt. And 17 still looks like a lot, but they were 29.
Well, and Ted, you mentioned a couple times in that first half that if they're going to get back into this, they're going to have to get stops on the defensive end. It can't just be to go down and trade buckets, and they've had a couple here now.
Fredette unchallenged. A long rebound, well done there by Wallace of UNLV. Well, that would have been a message. If Fredette had knocked that shot down, that would have caused a few hearts to flutter early in that big screen. Masamba. Fredette bounces up. Willis got a step, and then Masamba's pushed in the lane.
When you watch Jackson Emery with a steal on the ball on Oscar Belfield, and then Tyler Hawes with the miss. Good hustle by Stanback. You love when your big guys will run, even if they're not getting the ball. And I love the fact that Hartsock trailed that all the way down the floor, just waiting for that garbage. If it comes off, he's going to be there, and that's a hustle play.
Step back pop, and Oscar Belfield now has 9 first points of the second half for UNLV.
And he's 3 of 4 from the field. He's been really good in this one.
Well, Hartsock got a step down the lane and again could not finish, but UNLV fouls on the rebound. That'll be Bryce Masamba's second.
Hartsock had a big evening up in Provo in this matchup, and you got to like having a big guy that can put the ball on the floor. You know, we saw the last time down. There's the foul. It was a not tough call. That was not a tough call that time on Bryce Masamba, but we saw him trail a play and run the floor the last time down. And then he puts the ball on the floor. Good little series out of Noah Hartsock.
Now off the switch, it's Belfield and Fredette. Nicely done. Boy, Tavernari, that was well done.
And Fredette gets you, you know, with all of the crossing over, all of a sudden the whole defense is looking at him. And they lose track of where Jonathan Tavernari is.
And the teamwork that they played together, and Fredette and Tavernari knew that play. Belfield kind of clanged that one. Well, it's a long climb for BYU. The one thing they have is still have enough time as Fredette got in the lane and drew the bump. And there's what, that's a quality about Fredette that's easy to love. It doesn't seem like there's many guys anymore playing that understand this, how to get fouled.
Well, and he's fearless. I mean, he's fearless. And you see that time, no question that Bryce Masamba was moving to his right, and he is not afraid of that contact. Very solid kid. He just understands that. He knows how to get to the spot where he is very, very good, and that's the free throw line.
And Lon Kruger will have to think about alternating in there now. It's 3 fouls on Masamba. And Fredette, I mean, this is like not even a doubt in his mind he's going to make that. He's 10 of 10 at the line today, 15 total points. This is the closest BYU's been in a while, 15.
A 9-2 run now here for BYU.
High screen. Willis goes right by Hartsock and one. The ball screen, and Trayvon Willis took advantage. And he'll be at the line to try and finish a three-point play when we come back as UNLV tries to hold off the second half hopes of BYU. Mountain West Basketball on Versus, presented by KFC. UNLV still up 17 here. Second half of Las Vegas. This is a surprise, but we thought we'd take a look around at the biggest surprises in the country this year, Blaine.
Well, I think the biggest story has got to be Syracuse, who has got a chance to win the whole thing this year, and led by Wesley Johnson. They've been just terrific. And New Mexico, nobody expected anything of them in this league. You know, they started the season unranked, and now they're looking at a possible high seed in the NCAA. And Kansas State, Lon Kruger's alma mater, playing terrific basketball. Now, all these teams unranked that you're looking at, I think BYU is one of the big surprises in the country this year. I mean, and today has been a big surprise, Ted, is UNLV shooting lights out in the first half of this one.
So just about the time BYU was starting to put a little run on, Willis with a three-point play that he finishes. We got some more surprises we'll get to when time allows. Fredette going in against the bigger man. Boy, Chase Stanback, a long 6'8" guy, and Fredette just said, okay, I'm going to take this, and finishes.
Well, and he has this innate ability to, when he gets fouled, keep control and find a way. You see that little two-handed push, so soft to get the ball up on the rim, and a rare miss for Jimmy Fredette from the free throw line.
Well, he made 10, allowed to miss one. That's right on his number, 90%. Deep three there by Willis. All right, let's take a look at the rest of those surprise teams as Fredette brings it up. We'll get back to that. Belfield continues, as Lon Kruger said yesterday, that Belfield would get most of the work on Fredette. They put Belfield back on it. Fredette takes him in. Nearly finished. 3 and 2. Belfield, the fourth man, the trailer Wallace. There's a really good awareness by Belfield. You had Wallace there, and then Belfield breaks up that pass, but it carried him right to Emery. Bad break sets up Hawes, and Tyler Hawes, who has been a non-factor, finally gets something done.
So I'll tell you, Ted, we keep coming back to this, and you mentioned it in that first half. BYU all of a sudden playing better defense in the second half. And, well, I didn't like the shot Trayvon Willis took the last time down the floor. He had a three early in the shot clock with a hand in his face, and he went ahead and took it anyhow.
You're starting to see, and whatever Dave Rose did at the half and the staff, at least his team has come out and played better defensively in the second half. There they challenge, but that'll put Wallace at the line, and a rare drive by Kendall Wallace.
Boy, and then you see down the end, you see Masamba and Hartsock getting a little mixed up down there, and then unselfish play by Tavernari that time. Passed up a decent shot for a better shot, and then coming down the floor, Masamba and Tyler Hawes had a few words.
Now this is what any team would love to see. A guy like Kendall Wallace, who gets known as a shooter. Sometimes you shoot, and that's all you do. You never get to the foul line. Only the 16th foul shot of the year for Wallace, because he's that good from the three.
And he's not a guy, well, he did that last time where he put it on the floor and attacked that time, and that's not his game. And when he's been coming off the floor, he's come in for one reason and one reason only: lurk on the opposite side of the ball, get kick-out passes and knock down threes.
It's funny, it's exactly what Lon Kruger said yesterday when I asked him about, his offensive style. And as the three is missed by Emery and the rebound stand back, and Lon Kruger said, one of the things that appeals about our program, he thinks, to another tough screen to knock Fredette down. His teammates have got to help him on that. Wallace, his first three of the game. And just when BYU had docked it to 13, 5 straight points by Kendall Wallace.
Wallace is a guy that goes off in streaks. And so usually when he gets one, there's, things happen in threes. That's been the case a lot for Kendall Wallace.
Nice inside to Willis.
Beautiful awareness of where Willis was by Kendall Wallace. Very unselfish play.
And Dave Rose takes a timeout. So just when BYU had knocked it down to 13, 7 straight points.
Boy, and Bryce Masamba introduced himself to Jimmer Fredette, but some unselfish play. You've got to know where Kendall Wallace is. He is the guy that you have to know when he's on that weak side. And then that finish, the result of a beautiful entry pass to the cutter by Kendall Wallace.
And Blaine, we talked about one of the attractions for players who've been unhappy in other programs where they feel like their first choice doesn't wind up. From Lon Kruger's standpoint, he said, the offensive style we play, we attack. That's the word he said, we attack on offense. And if you're a young man who's played in other programs, you're not feeling right, this is a good style to become a player.
No, it's fun, and he loves guys that can play defense. And you see, they're 2-1 this year, so they've got a winning record, and when they keep this up, they'll be 3-1 against ranked opponents. And as you mentioned, this game does a lot for their RPI.
BYU with one team timeout remaining. The pressure, it's broken easily. Emery with a pull-up. Jackson Emery, just his second basket. And there's a steal, and Tavernari puts it right back. Tough play there. Emery defending Willis. And one thing that Lon Kruger was concerned about, Blaine, that his answer today was his team going to rebound they rebound as well with the loss of Derek Jasper.
Oh, and I think the answer to this point in the game has been a very positive, yes, absolutely, they've rebounded well. And you saw Jackson Emery, nice awareness of where the defender was on that pull-up, and then Tavernari just snuck back, and UNLV a little careless with the ball, taking it out.
Nice dump down low. There's the unselfish Willis to Darius Santee. Hartsock with the kick out Emery. Long rebound. UNLV's getting all the long rebounds. And transition. BYU gets it right back, though. Well done by Hartsock and company. Long rebounds, loose balls. UNLV winning decisively.
It's about energy, and every single one, as Trayvon Willis knocks down another, every single one of those, it seems like in this game, goes to UNLV. Those are hustle plays.
And this stretcher, this last minute and a half, has been exactly what BYU cannot. Basket trader. And that doesn't help much either. Or, actually, they're going to get that ball back to BYU. Out of a timeout. And the Cougars have pushed a couple of times. UNLV has held sturdy for the first 9 minutes of the second half. Mountain West basketball presented by KFC. And BYU has scrapped, fought harder, and pushed harder, but UNLV so far has answered.
They've got it down to a reachable area, but UNLV fought back.
All right, let's finish. Biggest surprises. Here's some honorable mentions.
Well, I love the fact Temple picked to be number 5 in the preseason. In their conference, they're playing great, and nobody expected Wisconsin to be where they are. But my favorite honorable mention team, Cornell, the Big Red, ranked for the first time since 1951. And they played a heck of a preseason schedule this year.
Yeah, they did.
So they're doing great things there.
Cornell won last night. They beat Yale by 19, and first team, I think, since 1838 out of the Ivy League, other than Penn or Princeton, to be ranked. Steve Donahue, the coach of Cornell, took them to the NCAAs last year, and should do the same this year. Off the timeout, well done play. A little two-man game there, and Tavernari, 14 points. Trayvon Willis, 28 for UNLV today, 2 shy of his career high. Okay, stand back. Look at how quick Anthony Marshall was to the ball again. Quick to the ball, and it generates a foul.
Well, that's a theme for this game. UNLV came ready to play in this ball game, and you know, you win all these 50-50 balls. When I say 50-50, the balls that are up for grabs, the long rebounds, the loose balls, and UNLV seems to be out hustling BYU on every one of those.
That's 4 fouls now on Noah Hartsock of BYU. First player in the game with 4. I'll tell you what, Marshall, and you can see why Lon Kruger likes this freshman. And he has the blow-by ability. He went by Fredette again.
He's got a great first step and an outstanding acceleration push.
Anthony Marshall will be at the line shooting 2.
That's on the front line for this UNLV team. It's very much a California team. A lot of Los Angeles area players. Willis from Fresno, and so here's a hometown guy. Here's Marshall right here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Mojave High School, and he was a 2009 Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Nevada. And he knows how to score. 25 points a game as a senior for Anthony Marshall. He was, when they signed him, he was a big-time recruit that was getting recruited by everyone. It was great for Lon Kruger to keep him right here at home.
In this world, you can no longer say the only players that'll be gone. The only seniors on the UNLV team are Darius Santee and Steve Jones, who are reserves. Oh, Fredette, look at the effort by Fredette. No payoff, although BYU will keep the ball.
Boy, and the first one gets blocked. Great hand-eye coordination by Trayvon Willis, and then he found the big guy lurking on the other side of the rim.
UNLV does have another transfer working out with the team this year. Quintrell Thomas, who played off the bench at Kansas as a freshman with a big 6'8" body. He'll be with the Rebels next year.
Yeah, he's a wide body. We watched him today working out in the shoot-around. He's going to be a nice addition. He'll give him some beef inside.
Another good inbounds play. It's 2 in a row run nicely by BYU, and Tavernari with 16. He's done off the bench today what BYU would like in terms of offense. He's been able to shoot it. Two freshman guards in the game, Hawkins and Marshall for UNLV, and a foul here on BYU.
And we've seen back-to-back excellent execution for BYU on the out-of-bounds play. Both plays designed for Jonathan Tavernari. He's been wide open. That foul on Charles Abuo, trying to deny the ball to Trayvon Willis.
So Abuo had not played in quite a while. Picks up his 3rd foul. One and one, and Willis unable to convert the front end. Nice movement to set up Abuo. That's the other part of Fredette that you like, is Fredette could have taken that shot, but Abuo had a better look. And Willis finds Santee with good position at the block. Tavernari pulls it down. Still enough time, 9 minutes here for BYU. Now a couple of missed shots, although Fredette tracks it down, sets up Tyler Hawes. Look at Abuo active high on the board, and that'll stay with BYU.
Charles Abuo, very athletic guy, and he is a big, strong, physical young player. And Dave Rose really loves the upside of this guy. He's the kind of guy that can go track those rebounds out of his area.
Well, look at Fredette again, Blaine. I just love it. What a great reverse. A little reverse spin to find that little crease that was going to let him get to the glass. You reference this. Fredette's kind of like that. He's got that analogy to a car where he's got multiple gears. He may not be the fastest guy in the world, but he's got multiple gears to throw off a defender.
You try to gauge a guy, and throughout a game, you get a little bit better defensively on that guy because you can figure out, what speed he plays at. And he plays at multiple speeds throughout a game, and as soon as you think you have it figured out, he does something else. Very skilled offensive player.
Santee goes out. Matt Shaw in for UNLV. And Fredette misses his second free throw. He's now 11 of 13 at the line, 18 total points. But that is big from the standpoint he's only had 3 field goals in this game.
A good closeout by Tavernari that time on Shaw, who hit those threes in the first half.
Stand back open. Willis took the defense with him. Well done, and then reversed the ball to an open stand back. Now we've got post play down low cleaned up. Scott Thornley is going to whistle Matt Shaw.
It's interesting to watch Fredette with the ball outside, working one-on-one. And you see inside, Fredette's dribbling it outside, one-on-one out there, and it's Miles and Shaw banging inside for position, trying to get that good low block position. And they call the foul off the ball.
Arms and a steal, UNLV. So BYU had gotten pretty good. They had not turned the ball over much in the second half, but a crucial one there. At a time where time now becomes pivotal in the game. Clear out, Willis against Emery. Stand back. He clears it out. 11 rebounds today for Chase Standback. It's Alon Kruger now going to take a timeout at 7:38 to go with his team with a new shot clock. And UNLV up 15 as we look around the NCAA. Some news and notes.
Yeah, you think about Jim Calhoun. Is he ever going to come back? We don't know. And that UConn program, 13-9 right now, and who knows what's going to happen with that. And then, Weber and Izzo having a free throw shooting contest tonight pregame to bring some attention to Cancer Coach for Cancer. I got Izzo in this one.
$5,000 for each missed free throw, we told. The coaches are going to donate to Cancer.
I've got Izzo in that one.
All right.
What do you think about this expanding tournament, Ted? I don't know.
I don't like it, but I don't think my vote's going to mean much.
I don't either. We're both against that. And then we talk about that battle for the Bob Cousy Award, Sharon Collins and John Wall. And wow, what a great
John Wall is the real deal.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Everybody I've asked who's seen John Wall in person or played against him. The only thing I would say, the only way I like the 96-team tournament is if there is in other words, if it lets 500 teams from BCS leagues in, I don't think there's any purpose there. If you allow some more representation from the mid-majors, for lack of a better term, and regular season champions are rewarded. That's a big part. So keep the regular season relevant. Then I could say, if you find a way to do that, and at least the 96 has some value.
Yeah, I agree with that. Too much put on postseason tournaments for conferences, and it makes
the Mountain West.
Yeah, makes the regular season not mean as much.
Reward your regular season. Trayvon Willis, a new career high, 31 for Trayvon Willis. He has absolutely been to the moment. And there was Willis way out beyond the arc. You notice that, to not let Fredette shoot a three.
Another one of those loose balls that UNLV comes up with on the other end of that.
But that's the unsung part. Willis was out defending beyond the arc there to not let Fredette shoot a three. Forced Fredette to give it up to Tavernari. On the run, Tyler Hawes with a tough shot hanging on the baseline. And then the other part about that three, UNLV scorched out of the game today. 9 threes in the first 10 minutes. They've only made 2 3 since, but that last one by Willis Significant, another baseline cut and feed, and 2 more. As Willis adds on to the best game of his college career. And doing it against a nationally ranked opponent for the nation to see. 33 and counting. Mountain West basketball presented by KFC. And on Monday night, back to hockey. Here on Versus, the Devils made a huge trade getting Kovalchuk from Atlanta. And the Devils will take him to Philadelphia to meet the Flyers Monday night. The Red Wings are in a scrap. One of the great teams in hockey recent years, but they're in a fight to make the playoffs in the West. They'll be in St. Louis to play the Blues Monday and Tuesday night. The NHL right here on Versus.
Well, Trayvon Willis with a career-high 33 points. And not only has he been great scoring the ball tonight, he has been the energy leader for this team. He has brought tremendous energy and effort out of the rest of his teammates. He's making everybody better. That's an unselfish 33 points, too.
It's going to be one of the great stat lines of the year. Right now, Willis has 33 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and no turnovers. What a day that is. And here's a good fight by Fredette and Emery of BYU. And Emery will get to the line.
Oh, what you talk about, Willis? I have to say that's a show I actually used to watch when I was younger.
And I don't think Trayvon is.
No, Trayvon doesn't even know what that means.
Reruns.
He doesn't even know what that means.
Exactly.
You and I know.
Well, BYU has given themselves some chances here in the second half. The problem is you have to play perfect, and they've had missed foul shots, empty possessions that they just can't afford digging out of this deep a hole.
Well, you know what happens when you're down that far, it takes so much energy to come back. It's hard to sustain it when you get down the stretch in a big game.
Belfield from the top. So a couple of threes going down now for UNLV, trying to put BYU, they've had them down for basically the 9 count, trying to get the 10 count here. As Willis not just scoring, but they're defending Fredette.
A great outlet that time, you know, the help defense. Tavern looked back to see where the ball was in Shaw's hand, and he kicked it out to Belfield for 3.
That last play by Willis again, how big is that? Not a guy just scoring, but the guy defending Fredette. Stand back. Going in. Michael Lloyd pushing back for BYU. But now it's back up over 20. Tabernari and the rebound to Justin Hawkins. And UNLV now has this one in its control. And they stand all around Thomas and Mack, over 18,000. And this looks like it'll be the 7th straight win for UNLV over BYU on this court. 2 of them coming in tournament finals. And Aburo's going to go all the way in for the lay-in.
The primary rule of transition defense, stop the ball. And that time nobody stepped in front of Charles Aburo. Not wanting to foul. The last thing we want to do is let BYU score with the clock stopped right now.
Now there's some other teams in this conference, most notably New Mexico, that want to have something to say about that. But you've got to believe that a game like this is going to, he's got to play a little bit on BYU, knowing they have to come back here in a month for the tournament. And for guys like Tabernari, been a part of so many wins at UNLV. Stand back over the back for the foul here. And Dave Rose himself has been a part of so much, but not to have a win yet on this court.
And this is one of the toughest places to play in the country, Ted. And this league, well, you have to win at home because it's so difficult to win on the road. When you think about the Pitt, New Mexico, you know, and down in San Diego, they turned that into a great home court advantage that never was there before Steve Fisher was there. The Marriott Center is a very difficult place to win. And the University of Utah, until this year, has been really, really tough. They're a little bit struggling a little bit right now, but to go on the road and win at San Diego, New Mexico, in Vegas, at BYU is a difficult task.
Front end there, make by Charles Abuo, and Abuo makes them both. Now that's what UNLV's best resume line really is, their road record. They are 8-1 in true road games this year, and that includes the only win by a visiting team at the Pit.
That's right.
Matt Shaw hits the cutter. Kendall Wallace.
They just continue to do everything well, and they've shared the basketball extremely well.
There's a three. Fredette just decided to pull up and pop it. 21 for Jimmer Fredette today. But UNLV came out and basically landed 2 haymakers on BYU's jaw in the first 4 minutes of the game. And the Cougars have just tried to fight their way off the ropes ever since. UNLV got out to a 15-2 lead, scorching shooting in the first 10 minutes of the game. Made 9 3-point shots, a team that has not been a great 3-point shooting team. Hartside for BYU. And now we're down to the final 3 minutes, and UNLV forging their way into a conference tie. If New Mexico holds its home court against San Diego State, it will be a 3-way tie. And a showdown week will continue. New Mexico will be here Wednesday night. And then UNLV at San Diego State next Saturday, back here on Versus. But for Lon Kruger, a lot of work into this one. And it looks like a reward. 2 minutes and change away. And all running Rebels afternoon. Mountain West basketball on Versus, presented by KFC. And with UNLV poised to knock off a team ranked 12th in the nation. Here's a look at some of the top players. This is just a list of some of the top players.
Oh, there's so many. There's a lot of good young players this year. You look at John Wall, my heavens, you already mentioned him. And Wesley Johnson carrying Syracuse right now. Jacob Pullen with an upstart Kansas State team. We include Jimmer Fredette on that list.
Yeah.
He's been outstanding. And you love Luke down there at Notre Dame, your alma mater. He's playing terrific basketball.
Evan Turner at Ohio State, another guy who's having a magnificent year. I mean, the list is far deeper than that. But all right, how about some disappointments? Now, North Carolina, definitely.
What's going on at North Carolina? Tied for 11th in the ACC. Are you kidding me? Preseason, they were number 6. And then UConn, we talked about their struggles with Calhoun not knowing what's going on. Louisville, number 1 seed last year, and they lost to a couple of teams. Louisville doesn't lose to those teams. But the Pac-10, how bad has the Pac-10 been this year?
Well, it's been a tough year. As Matt Shaw at the line makes for UNLV. No conference could withstand the loss of talent. 11 first-round picks, I believe, the last 2 years. 14 players drafted, and coaches. I think Tony Bennett, Tim Floyd, and the whole mess at USC, Lute Olson's retirement. A lot of good coaches out as well. Pac-10 is absolutely, and they're going to suffer next month because of it.
We've got 4 teams tied at 6-4 for the conference lead over there, and that's unheard of.
So here, coming down toward 2 minutes, 32 baskets for UNLV, 24 assists. They just played a sparkling offensive game. And it started as shooting, but it's ending up more like that, those kinds of plays, Blaine.
And I love the unselfishness of this team. Lon Kruger's been talking about it all season long on how he loves the makeup of this team and the chemistry, and they are terrific tonight in terms of sharing the ball.
All right, Michael Lloyd with the layup and transition now. The shot at a 3-point play here in Las Vegas. First points for Michael Lloyd. You can tell the significance as Willis goes in. No bench emptying. 1:45 to go. Lamont Morgan back. And I'm talking about the UNLV side.
Yeah, absolutely.
BYU has. Fredette's out. Emery's out. Lon Kruger's not letting anything go wrong here. Stand back. Boy, has he had a big rebounding day, too. Stand back will not get a double-double in all likelihood. 7 points. But he's had a good rebounding afternoon. And Hartsock hits the shot with 1 minute to go. But for BYU, disappointing looks. They came here with hope. 22-2 coming in, having beaten UNLV on their floor, but today UNLV never let BYU. The closest that BYU's been in this game is 13 points. That's remarkable. The closest they've been.
Well, you mentioned they came out and hit BYU right in the mouth with those threes, and it was like BYU's had wobbly legs ever since.
And Tavernari with that pass straight ahead. Hartsock fighting, and boy, Hartsock with like 4 chances, can't make it, and the frustration finally shows as they stand here. A sold-out Thomas and Mack Center, and they got exactly what they came for. A sterling afternoon by UNLV, and at least a 2-way, if not 3-way tie for the Mountain West Conference lead. 88-74, we're back to wrap things up from Las Vegas on Versus.